Last question, and then we'll move on to some other stuff. So we get into a transaction. The title company calls and says, we're pulling a preliminary title report. What is a preliminary title report, and how does it relate to the real estate transaction?
So I've been doing this 30 years. We used to call it a preliminary report. Now we call it a commitment for title insurance. It's a little confusing. The commitment has some other things that go along with it. And so when you are with our company, you'll hear the word commitment.
Okay.
That is us committing to ensuring the transaction. We list all of the exceptions and everything that we found on the public record. So we find an owner, we find CC&Rs, we find easements, we find abrogation rights, we find liens, judgments, all sorts of things, IRS issues. So all of those documents that we find are published on that report.
Okay.
So that is the title report that somebody is committing to giving to the buyer once we close. So with that, your buyer wants to make sure they review it, and I know you are an excellent agent and you look at those reports and you go through anything that you might have a question about, but that's something that the buyers definitely need to understand because it affects the title to their property. And basically it'll show on their final policy how it'll all look once they're getting that final title policy
when
in
they
place.
close.
Except obviously loans get paid off and judgments get removed and the homeowners association, correct, yeah. So it's a free and clear property until they put their new loan on.
When you say we, how do you determine all this stuff? Where do you look? Where does the title company, they have a secret website they go to, or can someone look that up? I know there's the Washoe County Recorder's Office here locally, but how do you guys find out all the information?
So one of the things about First Centennial that I love is we have a local title plant. I think with the best title officers that I've ever worked with. They are here in Reno. You can call us. We can do some research on a property. We have documents when Nevada went into, when it became a state. So we go back to the 1800s on some of our documents. We have what's called a plant. And in there, that's where we have recorded documents that we can utilize. Some title companies don't have a plant, and then they have another company insuring and doing the title search. So that is something that every company is different, but our company has a local title plant.
Okay. And then if you are a seller, what does it mean to pre-open title?
In my world, I love pre-opens because it gives me a chance to look at what's recorded against the property. There's a lot of situations right now where people are going through a divorce, and there could be a lien, there could be a bankruptcy. So if there is something that affects the property, the last thing you want to do is you as an agent have it listed for 2 months and then find out that there was an old loan that we could have been working on removing. So in my mind, I'm a little bit more proactive with getting the title clean so that when you have your new buyer, we're ready to rock and roll.
Okay, yeah, it cuts off time in the transaction, and we noticed kind of like a pre-home inspection. We see, things typically go smoother if you open it up ahead of time before hitting the market.
Yes.
So consider that if you are a seller, especially in this market, anything to make it easier on buyers. So.
Correct.